1, 2.
I'm not ready for a fight.
Good morning, all. It's 29 minutes past 9. We are ready to start the day's proceedings. Please make sure that your devices, your cell phones are off or on silent. Keep them quiet, please. Thank you.
Good morning, Ms. Hassim. May I request that you please place yourself on record? Oh, your mic.
Good morning, Chairperson and Commissioners. I'm Advocate Khan, representing General Khan.
Good morning, Mr. Khan. Thank you. Yes, Ms. Hassim?
Good morning, Chair. Application that was made by General Khan's legal representatives. The Commission has answered the application. We oppose the application. I won't make my submissions now. I think it would be appropriate for Mr. Khan to address his submissions in relation to the in-camera application.
Thank you, Ms. Hassim. Yes, Mr. Khan?
Thank you, Chairperson and Commissioners and Ms. Hassan. There are two intertwined issues before you this morning.
Sorry, Mr. Khan. Oh, there's something I forgot. Last night I made an arrangement, I even forgot to tell my co-commissioners, with Ms. Bowe about Mr. Nku, that we would formally postpone the hearing of his testimony to tomorrow. I assume, I see I have a laptop here. Ms. Bowe? Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Musigidi. It was Ms. Bowe who contacted me. I'm very sorry about that. Good morning, Mr. Musigidi.
Good morning, Chair. The arrangement is in order, Chair. He's here.
Good morning, Mr. Nku.
Good morning, Chair.
Yes, Mr. Musigidi.
Yeah, Chair will remember that Mr. Nku's testimony was stood down to resume either today or tomorrow. Chair, I wish to report that we are still finalizing Mr. Nku's statement, so we will be in consultation today. And what we are seeking, Chair, is that you stand down his testimony to tomorrow morning. Then we can resume with his evidence then, Chair.
Thank you. Mr. Nku, the hearing of your testimony is postponed to tomorrow. Tomorrow, the 2nd of July, 2026. Do you understand, Mr. Nku?
Thank you, Chair. I do understand.
So you will have to be here tomorrow before 9:30. We will start at 9:30. Understood?
Yes, Chair. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair.
I think we are done with these laptops, at least for now. Thank you. Yes, Mr. Khan.
Thank you, Chairpersons and Commissioners. Ms. Hassan. There are two issues presenting themselves before you this morning for consideration. The one issue, as formulated by the evidence leaders, is the question of the in-camera application. And the second issue, while distinct and pertinent, is intertwined to the first issue. The evidence leaders have indicated that notwithstanding the current circumstances in relation to General Khan, they wish to lead their evidence today due to time constraints. I'm going to address both these issues, if I may.
Just very, very quick, is it today? The leading of the evidence, will that be today? I understood we are hearing the evidence of some other witness today.
Chair, there is another witness who's scheduled, the in-camera witness L, this afternoon.
Yes.
So the directions we would seek would be for the chair to allocate a date to us. And with regard to the current schedule, I think that the soonest time you could hear me on General Khan's evidence is Friday, since we've just postponed Mr. Nku to tomorrow.
Yes.
Thank you.
So if you could make your submissions on the basis that what the evidence leaders are indicating is Friday, Mr. Khan.
Thank you very much, Chairperson.
Thank you.
This is the first that I hear of this change. It might have an impact on what I intend saying to you, because I might want to interact with Ms. Hassan and try and get some direction, and if necessary, postpone what I want to say to Friday morning. It will be a short address, but I might be able to clarify issues in advance with her, thereby saving the Commission some time. The first issue can be disposed of this morning, and it emanates from paragraph 10 of the opposing affidavit that was filed, was it yesterday? Yes. I'll just read the relevant portion in the evidence leaders say the following. The evidence leaders accordingly invite General Khan and his attorneys to reformulate a better focused application having regard to the issues raised in the answering affidavit. Without going into the details of what and what may not be reformulated and what the concerns are, I accept the invitation and we'll do that, given the circumstances that we find ourselves in and the urgency with which the in-camera application was brought. So that disposes of the first issue. As regards the second issue,
Mr. Khan, what is the first issue that you say is now disposed of after you read from the answering affidavit?
that is our General Khan's application for an in-camera hearing, which was delivered on Sunday before the unfortunate incident. So the evidence leaders yesterday delivered an opposing affidavit, but it is a qualified opposing affidavit where they concede that there are potentially certain matters that may be sensitive and requiring considerations of in-camera application. But they, however, raise certain points in relation to the terms of reference and specifically what should be in camera as opposed to a blanket in-camera application. So, reading from what they say in their opposing affidavit, we accept the invitation that we better formulate what it is exactly that we want in camera, because we have made the concession that not everything ought to be in camera. There are other considerations emanating from this as well, which we've communicated to them, and we don't need to detain you with, but there might be a need for IDAC to comment on certain things that we wish to say. So it's a work in progress at this stage, and because of General Khan being indisposed, we believe that we can do a better job and present this application better considered by both legal teams before you.
Will this, constitute or is what is still to be filed a supplemented affidavit, the application remaining the same?
Yes, absolutely.
All right.
Subject to the proviso that despite what is floating around in the media and doesn't bother us too much, that General Khan is actually unconscious, sedated, and we haven't been able to get access to him for purposes of further instructions in relation to this. So obviously the supplementary affidavit will arrive as and when we are able to present it.
Any further submissions? I just want to ask a quick question.
Yeah, there was an invitation for us to present medical evidence. We have now received the J88, which we will immediately make available to our colleagues. And there is a request.
Please continue.
There is a request by the family members.
Yes, Mr. Khan.
Yeah, it's a redacted J88. There is a request by the family members that I invite, given what is being said in the media and in the social media, and the concerns raised by the police, there's allegations that this is a contrived shooting, etc., and that General Khan is in fact lying relaxed in hospital eating jelly, that we invite the chairperson and or the further commissioners to have access to him in hospital and to speak to his medical attendants and verify and satisfy yourself that he is in fact in an extremely critical situation as set out in the J88.
My name is Khan.
Good morning, Commissioner.
It's just not clear to me what you want us to do with the current application. Do you want it to be postponed sine die while you supplement?
Absolutely.
And the idea, as I understand it, is that you are going to specify what you are referring to in prayer 2, because as it currently stands, it's too wide. So the idea is that you will specify it in line with the invitation in paragraph 10 of the answering affidavit.
Absolutely, it's that.
So the current application as it stands will be postponed sine die.
Correct.
And then the second issue, it doesn't affect this application because the application was about Mr. Khan himself giving evidence in camera and not what the evidence leaders intend to do on Friday. But you say you need time to discuss with Advocate Hassim so that you have clarity in terms of what is it exactly they intend to do on Friday.
Yes.
Have I understood you correctly?
Yes, if we are able to come to some agreement on what happens on Friday, great. But if we're not, then we would like to obviously address you further on Friday morning. Thank you.
By when will this, let me just loosely call it a supplement, by when will that be filed?
Chairperson, Advocate Khan, as I've indicated, is...
General
Khan.
General.
Sorry. This... I noticed yesterday that the media indicated that I'm General Khan's younger brother, which I'm not. So, yes, General Khan. Both my attorney and I have had access to General Khan. He's not verbal at the moment. He is sedated. He's got tubes coming out of his mouth, abdomen. His doctors have restrained the number of visitors that he may receive. I've brought photographic evidence for the commissioners. And again, we invite the commissioners to attend at his hospital to satisfy yourselves as to his condition. He's certainly not a person who's lying in bed, awake, enjoying his hospitalization and able to give us instructions. So briefly to answer your question, I cannot commit to when this supplementary affidavit will become available. Of course, this supplementary affidavit talks to his ability to testify. So if he's unable to testify, if he's unable to commission a supplementary affidavit, he's most certainly unable to testify. So they go hand in hand.
We as the Commission are not necessarily bound by what the evidence leaders said, which is what you've referred to as an invitation, which you say you accept. Nothing stops us if we were so minded. I'm not saying that we are. But nothing stops us from dismissing the application outright on the basis, for example, of vagueness. And I must tell you outright that I feel that the application is very vague. For example, I have no idea altogether whether what General Khan is asking for is only for evidence relating to the Eratin bust to be aired publicly. So I don't know whether that is what he is saying. All that can be heard publicly is Eratin and nothing more. If that is the case, the affidavit does not explain why everything else is out of bounds in terms of being aired publicly. There's nothing there altogether. For example, let's take what is contained, just one example, the communications between General Khan and Mr. Sayed. Let me not get into the detail of what those say. You know what they say, and they are out there in the public domain. But the point is, looking at those, at face value, those appear to be private communications between Mr. Sayed and General Khan, without an explanation as to why those raise security or intelligence issues or confidential issues. I'm completely at a loss. I'm completely in the dark. So, one, perhaps you should answer the question whether indeed the application is suggesting that all that may be heard publicly is the Eratin bust. Is that so or not?
No, it is not so.
Then
So-
what more then may be heard publicly?
Yes. So, of course, Chairperson, the application must be viewed in its correct context. And part of the context, and I do not wish to detain you more than is necessary, part of the context is that as late as last week, we received something like 370,000 line items of WhatsApp messages.
Yes.
The evidence leaders in their affidavit seem to intimate, well, it's your WhatsApp messages, you should know about it. There are considerations such as the authenticity of the messages, whether they are altered, we don't know, whether the chain of command has been retained, we don't know. We've invited access, and these are all the events before Sunday night. We've invited supervised access to the devices. That has not been forthcoming. So we have considerations, and my attorney's done a calculation, surprisingly, that if we were to spend 10 seconds reading each WhatsApp message, it will take us about 200 days to get through all of them. So in that light, we ask for the indulgence that we have the opportunity, and the evidence leaders have, for all intents and purposes, acknowledged this, that we be given the opportunity in the fullness of time to better formulate this application and to allow us the opportunity to place full information before the Commission. Suffice to say, as late as this weekend, we received another 11,000 pages of bank statements with the explanation that, well, it's your bank statement, you should know what's in it. We, of course, need to go through this, and because we are now hamstrung, there is an amount of delay. We ask the Commission, and correctly so you have pointed out, that you are not bound by what the evidence leaders say. We ask you for that indulgence, given the extraordinary circumstances that we are faced with presently. We hope to be able to move matters forward and to better present ourselves before you. And it's simply an indulgence at this point in time.
What you are addressing now, with the exception of the bank statements about which I've not seen anything in writing. But the rest of what you say, the number of texts, the thousands or even hundreds of thousands of texts, the thousands of pages and so on. If I understood the application correctly, you raise those issues in the context of seeking condonation for the lateness of the application. That has nothing to do with the question that I asked, which is, what is confidential or relates to state security, relates to intelligence? What is it in the application? You have detailed all of the things that you have detailed, and none of that addresses the question that I put to you. I hope you understand. Also, and of importance, is that even if you complain about this material that you say was delivered late, General Khan, through your assistance, I assume, has brought an application for an in-camera hearing, stating, as a matter of fact, he doesn't say there's a whole lot of material or stuff that's still outstanding. He has come to this commission asking for an in-camera hearing on the basis of state security, confidentiality, intelligence matters, investigative ways by the intelligence operatives, all of which should not be aired publicly. So he took himself or understood himself to have facts to come to this commission. That has nothing to do with the material you have just placed before us. Because if that was the issue, then he would not have been ready to bring the application. So my point about the application being vague stands.
Yes.
And you would have you have to respond to that if you wish to. Please
Thank you.
do.
So, Chairperson, you will note that this application was brought at a late stage on Sunday evening, whilst all these events were unfolding. But to answer your question, General Khan is not here to testify today, and the commissioners have to unpack what is in the current application. There is room to breathe, to fix up what is currently a lacuna in the application, and I concede that before you. If you were to close the door without offering us a better opportunity
But at the very least, Mr. Khan, you should be able to explain the basis on which the application was brought in the first place.
Yes. So
for example, the application in so many words refers to the relationship between General Khan and Mr. Syed, and I think it's the only example it actually touches on. I may be wrong. So it does refer to that, and all it does is to talk about context and how the intelligence system bears relevance to that relationship. But are we to take General Khan on his word on that? We cannot. We cannot grant the application on his word. There's some context. What context? There's some bearing. What bearing? We are completely in the dark. We cannot grant an application like that. So it's on that basis that I say, why did General Khan come before us? At that stage, he was well. He had not been shot. And by the way, let me place it on record that the Commission has in so many words expressed its words.
And condolences. Thank you, Commissioner.
I've only heard but I'm a third language English speaker. I've only heard condolences used in the context of someone who has passed on. I'm not saying it's not used in the context in which you are using it. But you are quite right. We have, as a commission, expressed those words. But the point I'm making is, at the time this application was crafted and brought, he was well. No question there. So I have difficulty understanding the basis on which the application was brought in the first place. Serious difficulty with that.
Yes.
That there has now been an offer which General Khan, through you, is grabbing, is something else altogether. Was there an application before us in the first place? If there was, on what basis was it brought before us?
Okay. So,
Because I mean, I have said it's vague. I could actually go further and say it's hopeless. From where I'm sitting, it's hopeless.
So, Chairperson, we are faced with the following situation. This application was brought on Sunday. On Monday, the evidence leaders conditionally opposed this application. There isn't even a replying affidavit before you at this stage because of circumstances. Now, the basis, and I don't wish to argue the matter fully, the basis of the claim for an in-camera application is set out under certain headings in the application. The evidence leaders have come back and said it's not sufficient, we want more clarity. That could very well, in the fullness of time, come in the replying affidavit, which should not be new because it talks to the headings. But to answer your question, what's the basis, why at the late stage? And I understand your question. This matter has been unfolding for some time. It is on the back of further evidence that is being presented at the Commission. There are circumstances that are set out in the affidavits in the High Court application. So there are a lot of moving parts in this matter that remain moving. One may look in the crystal ball and say, yes, you should have brought this application at an earlier stage. One may criticize the legal team, but the reality of the matter is that we have...
I am not raising any of those. I'm raising a different point, but please continue with your response.
I am submitting to you, Chairperson and Commissioners, that there would be no prejudice or harm affording this application to become ripe and then considering it as opposed to dismissing it summarily at this stage without a replying affidavit and without a full opportunity to place more information before the Commission. So it's an indulgence that we seek. Your powers are wide, and there we find ourselves.
So do I understand you to be saying you have no answer to my question? Because even up to this point, you have not answered my question. Do I understand you to be saying you have no answer and that perhaps everything will become clearer once what you call a replying affidavit has been filed? But as to the basis of bringing the application that is now before us, you are not able to give an answer to the question that I asked. I did not hear a direct answer to that question. I've heard everything else you have said in this regard.
May I have an opportunity?
Yes.
And Chairperson and Commissioners,
Yes.
I'm limited in my ability to go into the individual line items of what's set out in the founding affidavit,
Yes.
because the evidence leaders yesterday suggested certain reductions before they present these affidavits to the media, inviting them to decide whether the media wants to oppose this application. Of course, if I am to address you on the line items at this point in time, then it frustrates that process. The Commission would have noticed that we have set out certain headings in relation to certain investigations that implicate other people, other events, other transactions. I don't want to go into them at this point in time, but we seek the opportunity to go into them. I've heard what your understanding is. I've heard your criticism of the application, and I really find myself in a position where I don't want to testify, but at the same time, I wish to say that we can better clarify the information for the Commission, and there is an ability to clarify the information.
Just one last point, perhaps, before Commissioner Baloyi raises a point she wants to raise. As a commission, we are not a court of law, but this is a judicial commission of inquiry, and so some of the laws, even procedural matters applicable to courts may well apply to us as well. Where am I going with this? Are you proposing making out a case in reply, which you would not be able to do if this were a court of law? So are you proposing to make out a case in reply? If so, can you do that?
So I answer that on two bases. The short answer is obviously no. We all know that as lawyers. But making out a case and introducing the facts for the first time in reply is what we would consider making out the case. Further addressing and elucidating what is under the headings that have now been redacted is certainly not making out a new case.
Those, if you say, what you are saying now, you just preface by saying, if you introduce new facts, you would be making out a case in reply, elucidating on points which on their own or in and of themselves do not make out a case, and then you elucidate. Those would still be facts, and those would be facts that make out a case in reply. So I don't quite get the distinction that you are making.
So if I may get to the second submission that I wanted to make, and then I'll come back to the first one that you raised. Of course, there are very limited bases on which I may attack your terms of reference, which are wide in and by themselves.
And
but
you would have to take the president to court in that regard.
But fairness is a central theme. It isn't one that we can get away from, particularly given the current circumstances, where my indulgence lies. Coming back to your question, and I'm certainly not going to discuss the tenets of the law, certainly not with a constitutional court judge and eminent members of my profession. But headings have been set out, general events have been set out that are redacted, and I'm cautious as to what I say in front of the media. There is a criticism of certain things that have been set out in the opposing affidavit, and I can deal with those criticisms without going into something new in a replying affidavit. I can also supplement my founding affidavit under limited circumstances again. So without laboring the point, General Khan is not before you today. I am not seeking to delay this morning's proceedings because his evidence would have been led. His evidence, this portion of the evidence before you is in any event going to be postponed, and that is conceded by the evidence leaders. In those circumstances, we ask you for the leeway to better focus this application and present it before you.
Thank you.
Mr. Khan, you have referred to paragraph 10 of the evidence leader's answering affidavit, and you have read the very last sentence. But that last sentence which you have read should be read with the conclusion of the same affidavit. And paragraph 23.1 of the conclusion says you haven't made out a case. That's what they say. They're not inviting you to improve on this application. They say you haven't made out a case. And then 23.2 they say bring a new application for in camera. That's what they say. So it's not an invitation at paragraph 10 that you should now improve on this application as in supplement or reply. And I think it's important to clarify that our position is very clear at paragraph 23.1. So effectively, they're asking for a dismissal at 23.1, and then 23.2, they say you can bring another application, a better application for in-camera directions. That's, I think, a proper way of reading that paragraph 10. But more importantly for me, it is we either now have an application for an in-camera hearing or we don't. You have an option. You argue your case on the application that you have filed, and you've had the discussion with the chairperson about it. But that is the application that we have in front of us. You either argue that or you withdraw it. You cannot have a holding position, because listening to you effectively are asking for this in-camera application to be held in abeyance, so you have a holding position. We don't get to decide, the chair doesn't get to decide, give a ruling on this application, but it's held in abeyance until an unknown time, when you eventually will come back and say, now I'm ready to supplement or to file a replying affidavit. But that cannot be. I think you have only two options. You either argue this application and say, we've made out a case. And on the, because I'm not going to speak to you about you can make a case in the replying affidavit. I think you fairly conceded to the chairperson that as a matter of procedure or process, you can't do that. So you have pleaded a case in the founding affidavit. It's either good or bad. You stand or fall by it. Your alternative is you withdraw that application and refile a new application whenever you do that, and the prevailing position on the second option would be we don't have an in-camera application until you file a new application. It's that, yeah, I think you can respond to that if you want, but it seems to me that's the position that must prevail.
Thank you for the opportunity to reply. Commissioner, you took me from paragraph 10 to the conclusion, but in fact there are further matters in the affidavit of the evidence leaders that talk to this issue holistically.
You can point me to that
If I may take you to paragraph 4.
Yes.
Paragraph 4 is not an unqualified opposition. They say so, it's a qualified opposition. But more importantly, the concession is already made by the evidence leaders in paragraph 4 that some of General Khan's evidence may very well be held in camera.
Yes, no, that's not my read 20, the conclusion. The conclusion is clear that on what the evidence leaders are saying is on this application, you haven't made out a case to be heard in camera. They may hold the view that some of it, some of what he may well be testifying to, given what they know now, because investigations have been done, certain evidence has been collected. So the evidence leaders may well hold that position, that there is some evidence that's going to have to be in camera. But on this application, as it stands, you haven't made out a case. That's why they invite you to reformulate. You can't ignore 23.2, because that will be selective reading. You can't ignore it. In 23.2, they say you have to make a new application, now dealing with what it is that you identify as in camera. And my proposition to you, what I'm saying to you is, until there is a new application, we have to decide this application, or you withdraw this application and then bring a new application, because that's the invitation they're making to you.
I'm in agreement with you that we cannot read this affidavit as a compartment, and we've got to read it holistically. And you refer me to one portion in addition to paragraph 10. I say that read holistically, the concession is fairly made by the evidence leaders in paragraph 4 and paragraph 5 of their affidavit, where they concede that certain portions of his evidence may have to be led in camera. And they then concede in paragraph 5, the evidence leaders do not dispute that genuinely sensitive information may be appropriately protected. Now, what Commissioner puts to me is an election. Elect whether you are proceeding or elect if you're withdrawing.
Yes.
And I say to the Honorable Commissioner that I do not have a replying affidavit. Presently, I do not have a client that can instruct me further. And I'm asking for an indulgence to get back to the drawing board with my client if and when he becomes available, so that I may better then address the concerns that have been raised by the evidence leaders. I ask that you not close that door on me, given the circumstances, and they are extenuating circumstances. So allow me the opportunity, whether at that stage to withdraw and bring a new application, or at that stage to fairly concede what the evidence leaders want. But at this stage, because of the events of Sunday night, I sit before you with no replying affidavit and without a client able to say to me, do X, Y, and Z. Now, when I'm put to that election that I must withdraw this application without a mandate, I'm then on thin ice.
Yes. Why would it be to close the door to you if this application is decided on what we have in front of us? Why would that preclude you, or how would that preclude you from bringing a new application, as invited by the evidence leaders?
The way in which I understand what is said by the evidence leaders, holistically in the affidavit, is come to us, come engage with us, whether it is by affidavit or in person, and let's talk about and discuss what ought to be in camera, because the concession is fairly made that some matters potentially ought to be in camera. I hear you saying, well, why can't that process unfold later and this application be dismissed? My answer to that is one does not seek a duplication of processes before you. One also doesn't wish to create the impression that an in-camera application has been abandoned on the merits of it. And we are live to what is happening both inside and outside this commission.
Yeah, no, Mr. Khan, you can't be asking us to make rulings on the basis of what's happening outside the commission. We've got papers in front of us.
Yes.
Before the incident of Sunday, you prepared an application and you were satisfied this meets the requirements for an in-camera application. You must have been convinced that you will succeed, right? Otherwise, you wouldn't have filed the kind of affidavit that you have filed. So you are confident, you and General Khan, before Sunday, were confident you've made out a case for an in-camera hearing. It doesn't take the evidence leaders to say you have not made out a case for you to say, well, I now need to do a new application, I need to supplement. It shouldn't even get there, right? When the evidence leaders say this application or this founding affidavit on its terms does not make a case for an in-camera hearing, you can't hold on to that and say, therefore, I'm entitled to do a supplementary or to be given an opportunity to consult with my client so that I get more. It doesn't work that way. You stand and fall by your founding affidavit, and as you concede in your replying affidavit, you don't make a case. In ordinary circumstances, you would have been only allowed to introduce new matter that you couldn't have anticipated that comes out of the answering affidavit. Then you would deal it in the replying affidavit. That's not that kind of situation here. What we have here is you have pleaded certain headings. General Khan has pleaded certain headings and says this heading qualifies to be heard in camera. And there's quite a number of them. And the engagement with the chairperson, between you and the chairperson, is to say, well, on those headings, you haven't made a case for an in-camera hearing. That the evidence leaders take that point with you, because that's exactly what they've done. That they take that point with you does not create a door for you to say, well, I need to file another affidavit, and until then, you can't hear this application. this in-camera application. It just doesn't work that way. Effectively, what you are seeking is you seek to hold the hand of the commission in abeyance until eventually you are able to consult and get instructions from General Khan, whenever that will be, because that's effectively what your submissions is. Then we have this floating application, which is not being heard, which is not being decided, because you can't help your circumstances. Your client is in the position that you describe. And so we can't do anything about that part unless you can reach agreement. But in fact, even the agreement hinges on you getting instructions from your client. So we're pretty much in that same space. It's not as if it gets better. You know, when we say, if the decision is go and consult with the evidence leaders, you would still say, I need instructions from my clients. And you've described him to be in no position at this point to make instruction, to give instructions. So either way, it doesn't seem like the commission wins. You know, things will roll out in the way that we'll see eventually, but that cannot be. The point I'm making, or I seek to make, is we do have an application before us. If the final determination on this application is that a case has not been made out, then you must lose, or General Khan, the application must be dismissed if a case has not been made out. The evidence leaders have indicated what they consider in the answering affidavit as matter that doesn't require an in-camera hearing. You get the opportunity to address that. You may disagree with that, and that's a matter that will have to be determined. But they've indicated what it is that they consider not to be matter that qualifies for an in-camera hearing. If your application is dismissed and the evidence leaders are allowed to continue, or you agree with them that the matter that they've identified can run without an in-camera hearing, nothing precludes you from bringing a new application that now deals with other matter that you say warrants an in-camera hearing. You may even want to canvass the same topics, but this time with better information that is of assistance to determine that application. It seems to me that's the way that it can only proceed. Otherwise, we're going to be sitting in limbo for an indefinite period. And that does affect the workings of the commission.
If I may have an opportunity to respond and to take an instruction from my attorney. Regarding the observation that the commission will be held in limbo, General Khan is obviously not disposed to tender evidence presently. So the application talks to his evidence. And if he, and rather than put the cart before the horse, if his evidence is not coming, then the issues surrounding the in-camera application for present purposes are moot. So if this application were then to follow at a time when, if and when he is ripe to testify, if we get there, then obviously this application must talk to that set of facts. Currently, this application, I hear you to say, is holding the hand of the commission. I do not understand that aspect because the commission's work continues as it is.
It relates to the evidence of General Khan. That's what I meant. And I thought you would understand. I'm speaking specifically to the evidence of General Khan.
And that affects the scheduling. That affects the scheduling because, for example, there will be no witness on Friday. There will be no witness on Monday. So it affects the scheduling. That's the context in which Commissioner Balo is, amongst others, making the point that she's making.
If I may take the instruction, please. Thank you for the opportunity, Chairperson and Commissioners. Our position is that we don't wish to hamstring the work of the Commission. As regards the evidence of General Khan and what is to unfold, we're told by the evidence leader at this point in time that they will be addressing you on Friday morning. May I have the opportunity till Friday morning to consider my position and then communicate and engage with them? It might very well be that we can limit issues with them, and then we report back to you on Friday morning.
Mr. Khan, if we were in motion court, you would be asking a judge to remove your matter from the roll because the judge would have raised difficulties with your application, and you would be aware that if you were to proceed, it's likely to be dismissed. So the mic is, yeah. So that's where you find yourself, and speaking for myself, I understand your difficulty because you are counsel. You don't have the authority to withdraw or to tender a withdrawal. You would need to take instructions. But it seems to me that the proper thing would be for you to say the application should be removed from your role today, and your attorneys will decide what to do with it. They may very well, give a notice of withdrawal. But you seem to be understanding Commissioner Baloyi's position because none of what she says prevents General Khan from bringing the same application properly motivated. Because even your notice of motion, your prayer too, as it stands, I have serious difficulties with it. So it's not a simple case of just supplementing or filing a replying affidavit. You need to fix your notice of motion as well. So it makes sense to me that the application has to be withdrawn, and if you are so instructed, you file a proper motivated application that deals with the issues that you want to be heard in camera. Because as it stands, those are not there. It's just blanket statements that we do not understand. So with that in mind, maybe without wasting any further time, just tell us what you want to do, and Chair will consider that and we will move forward.
Thank you, Commissioner. I've heard you say that without giving legal advice, a prudent course might be to simply remove the application. And I'll ask that we remove the application from your role.
Thank you very much. The removal is yours. It's not done by us. So I assume that we must take the application as removed.
Thank you very much.
All right. In the interim, and regarding any concerns General Khan and you, the legal representatives, might have with regard to possible prejudice, I would refer you to paragraph 23.4 at page 33 of the answering affidavit. There, the evidence leaders make a fair point. The evidence, they say, I quote, the evidence leaders will engage General Khan and his legal team on how to present evidence on the remaining topics in a manner which does not compromise confidential crime intelligence information or prejudice the safety of informants or undercover agents. So it's not as if Ms. Hassim intends to, on Friday, just start leading evidence without that engagement having taken place. This means that Ms. Hassim, as all of us actually should, accepts the fact that with an intelligence operative, there should indeed be intelligence-related matters which should not be aired publicly, security-related and even confidential, all of which should not, as I say, be aired publicly. Ms. Hassim understands that, and because of that understanding, she's willing to engage with General Khan, but because you say he is not conscious at the moment, I thought you said, that means Ms. Khan will engage with you, General Khan's legal representatives, to you accepted that, for example, that this application is not saying we should, what should be aired publicly is erratin only. So you accept that there's more than just that. So that's the ground which will be covered by the engagement between the two sides, as it were. So in a sense, this provides somewhat of a cushion.
Yes, Chairperson, there is some comfort in this statement here.
Yes.
And that is why I prefaced my address to you with my desire to engage with the evidence leaders and see how we can come to some resolution.
Yes. No, thank you. Thank you very much then. This is closed. The application is withdrawn, so this discussion is closed. But, yes. No, I did say we cannot withdraw. There's an issue or two that I wish to address, Mr. Khan. Up to today, we have never had to follow, interact with, pronounce on, or engage with issues that are out there in the media. But this time around, I do wish to raise issues that were in the media. Here's the background. Our spokesperson, Mr. Jeremy Michaels, picked up an interview that was conducted by Ms. Zianda Ngobo, and she was interviewing you. Our spokesperson was quite concerned by some of the things that you said, and he suggested to the commission that a media statement should be issued addressing those issues that concerned him. After discussion within the commission, the view taken was that rather these issues should be raised here in open session with you. I will commence to do just that. At what time did General Khan serve his papers on the commission? It was Sunday night, was it not?
That's correct.
At what time?
My attorney is checking right now.
It is at 11:04 on Sunday night, Chair.
11:04, yes. And at what time is General Khan supposed to have been shot?
If I may. We do not say with certainty, but it appears to be approximately 11:30.
11:30. Now I want to refer you to a response. We have a transcript of the interview.
Chair, we could provide a copy of that transcript to my learned friend.
Oh, you did?
I'm not
Sorry.
certain when. I don't have it in
No,
front
no,
of me.
I'm saying we could provide a copy
all right.
as you addressing these
All right.
issues, so he has it in front of him.
Perhaps we should adjourn very briefly, and you can indicate as soon as that has been done. We'll just wait outside here.
It won't be long, Chair, so don't go upstairs.
Sorry?
I said we won't be long, so
No,
don't go
I'm saying
upstairs.
we'll stand outside
Okay.
here.
Thank you.
Let's adjourn.
All right, we are ready to resume. Please make sure that your devices are quiet. Thank you.
Well, the last question I asked was what time General Khan was shot or is supposed to have been shot. You said around 11:30. Was it not, in fact, earlier than that?
Chairperson, I have not spoken with the police, neither have I seen any of their investigations. You will remember that I bent over to my attorney and asked him, and that is what was communicated to me. So,
Oh my God. they've taken
independently,
that.
I'm unable to answer that question.
Somebody took my laptop and my copy of the transcript. Oh gosh. Yeah, perhaps. But before we stand down waiting for my laptop, you may counter this if you want to end, indeed, as you are free to, or at liberty to. I have here something posted by Mr. Bule Lichwidi Jones of ENCA on X. I assume that a tweet is still a tweet, it's not an X, even though the platform is now X. And it says, at ENCA, and then arrived on the scene around 23:18. The incident happened just after 2300 hours, we are told. But what's important is he's already there. He's there at 23:18, so obviously before past. And he says he's told that the incident happened at 2300 hours. Would you have a basis for saying that that is not so?
No, I was not at the scene. I was informed much later, and I did not arrive at the scene.
No, I'm asking a different
don't have a
question.
basis.
You would not be able to say that is not correct.
I'm not able to.
You are not able to say so. All right. Now, here's my difficulty. You suggest in the interview, you mentioned the unfortunate death, obviously there, even though you don't mention the name, it's obviously a reference to witness D or Mr. Marius van der Merwe. You say a witness that testified at the commission has passed on, and you then mention the fact that the application was served, and then you suggest that there is or must be a leak within the commission. Everything looked at in context, you are suggesting that General Khan may well have been shot as a result of that leak. Because if you are not suggesting that, why else mention this? Am I interpreting your response correctly?
No.
Please tell me what your interpretation is. Why would you have mentioned the leak or the possible leak, and why would you have mentioned the death of Mr. Marius van der Merwe?
Yes. So your chairperson and honorable commissioners, you will notice from this transcript that was just provided to me, and I don't doubt its authenticity, that At the beginning of the transcript, I indicated that I'm reading a statement on behalf of the family. Present with me was my attorney and members of the family standing around, and I was instructed to read the statement. I had also obtained my impressions of that morning and the concerns, and I place it in context, from the family. Now, the context of that morning were, and these are also my experiences when I arrived at the hospital, that there were members of various different units at the hospital attempting to get access to General Khan to confirm whether he is in fact seriously injured or what the circumstances are. But then turning specifically to the question itself, which appears at page 7 of the transcript, and if I may read it for us, Ms. Ngobo says the following, and in fact, maybe I should pause because you referenced something about Mr. Pule. I have not spoken with Mr. Pule, but that's a separate issue.
That's just for timing, and I'm still
Yes.
to zoom in on that. I'm
Yes.
still to zoom in on that.
So, Ms. Ngobo says, because the impression that I am getting now is that immediately after you delivered papers to the Madlanga Commission, this happened. In other words, that affidavit firstly would implicate possible other high-ranking officials, which would then by implication to an extent mean that perhaps you also would have a leak of some sort, either on your side or maybe on the Commission side. My answer to that, sorry, let me finish it. Am I misunderstanding the way that this has been framed? My answer to that, well, at this point, it is speculative. And the speculation that I receive is from the information from the family expressing their concerns that morning in respect of a man that is shot, that is in ICU, and that is being rumored to be losing his life. I say further, it is speculative, but we do have concerns. Now, the concerns that I'm speaking about are based on the following, amongst others, and I'm again cautious to speak in the media. The question was, is there a leak on your side or a leak in the Commission? And I say it is speculative, but we have concerns. And we do, in fact, have concerns about leaks on our side. We also have concerns that have been expressed to us, for example, that, and I'm traversing other issues such as the police raid at the premises of General Khan, that the media were in fact there before the police arrived. One person who appeared before the Commission has already been murdered. This is something, and it appears elsewhere in this report, and it's also reported by the different journalists. Did General Khan fear for his life? He communicated directly to me and my attorney seated next to me that in light of all of these events, and he specifically mentioned the murder of somebody that appeared before the Commission, that he feared for himself. And you'll see in this report, I say, he used different vehicles, he took different routes, and he consulted his legal team at different locations. I go on to say there had been an attempt on General Khan's life as he was to appear before the Commission, and there is grave concern that there might be a compromise within the Commission. General Khan had expressed to my attorney and myself that in fact his team was the unit that did the security services for the Commission itself. Now, this is not to say, and I say this unqualifiedly, that this is not to say that there is a leak within the commissioners, within the evidence leaders, but there are police officers involved in these incidences that General Khan was concerned about. And that concern was carried over by his family to the police trying to get access to him on the morning of the incident. But lastly, I say, and I qualify this, but at this stage it is speculative, it is speculated by the family, if that assists, Commissioner.
You see, this is not only about what you intended to convey, but it is also about how reasonable listeners would have understood this. You are saying this in the context of General Khan having been shot. And in that context, you mention leaks or compromise. Or what did you mean by compromise? I understood it, and I believe myself to be a reasonable listener. I understood you to be referring to leaks from or by the commission.
Absolutely not.
And I also understood that to go back to the context in which General Khan was shot. So all of that, when you look at it holistically, it suggests that we served the commission late last night. He gets shot after service of the documents. And there are leaks within the commission. When you look at the totality of all that, it does suggest, or it may reasonably suggest to a reasonable listener, that you are basically saying that as a result of the leak, General Khan, or rather, General Khan may well have been shot as a result of the leak from the commission. That would, or that's a possible way in which a reasonable listener would have understood what you said.
May I reply?
Yes.
I unqualifiedly before you and the media say that that is not my instructions, and that is most certainly not what I intended to communicate to the media with my attorney and family members of General Khan present.
Thank you. May I say this then? If you are ever to make media briefings again, be careful of what you say and don't say anything that may tend to impugn the integrity of this commission. You should be very careful about that.
I note what you say.
Are you within what's colloquially referred to as the organized bar, or are you a so-called independent?
Organized bar.
Organized bar. Well, as I know them, having been a member of the so-called organized bar for many, many years, there was, I'm not saying there should still be, because even within the bar sometimes there may be disagreement, but there was a rule that said members of the bar can only go out to the media, be interviewed, and make statements to the media after having received permission from their bar. Otherwise, you don't just go out there and make. I repeat, I'm not saying that that rule should still continue to exist. Perhaps some might even say, does that not infringe the right to freedom of expression, and so on and so on. But the point I make is, if that rule still exists, and without it having been removed from the rules of the so-called organized bar, I wonder whether you got the permission, or if you didn't, what your basis for engaging in this in the first place was. But anyway, that's not for me. I'm just stating that that's how, as someone who once was a practitioner, that's how I know the rules to have been. I don't know if they still are. Anyway, you have said that that was not your intention, and I've already admonished you never ever to make statements that may tend to impugn the integrity of the commission. Let me move on to a second issue. I'm trying to find the page number. Anyway, let me just read this. You say there has been some contact with the Madlanga Commission, and we understand that they have directed representatives to arrive at the hospital to confirm that General Khan has in fact been shot, or alternatively whether this is something less serious than what it is made out to be. Who is supposed to have given this directive?
My attorney is looking for the correspondence right now.
All right, all right.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Yes, yes.
My attorney has instructed me in relation to this, and of course, the comment that I made is what I was instructed and obtained from my attorney. He refreshes my memory that there was correspondence on the morning, which is, I think it's the 29th of June, 2026, from the Commission's attorney, Diale, in which they seek information. We request that you urgently inform the Commission of the facts within your knowledge concerning the incident, including the extent and nature of the injuries and the expected period of recovery. They then go on to say, also provide the Commission with a medical report from Major General Khan's attending physician. When I got to the hospital, I was instructed by my attorney and also advised by members of the police that were present at the scene, as well as members of the family, that persons had arrived at the reception area at the hospital, indicating that they were from the Madlanga Commission and that they wanted to interview General Khan. We also engaged with the security provided by the medical facility, indicating that they had resisted attempts by police and media, and I believe, if I recollect correctly, people saying that they are from the Madlanga Commission and wanting to get into the ward.
This is something quite serious because once I became aware of this and that there was a directive of that nature would only have come from me, I gave no such directive. And I asked around amongst all senior functionaries within the commission if they knew anything about that. And the response I got was that nobody knew anything about this. So what you are saying now comes as a surprise to me. And it's quite serious, actually, because it suggests the possibility that some people may have gone to the hospital and wrongly presented themselves as coming from the commission. Are you able to give us the supposed timing of this?
We will attempt to get the information and present it to you. My attorney is with me. My attorney asked for permission to address you.
Yes, yes.
Thank you, Chairperson. Chairperson, we shared your concern at the morning, on the morning just after the shooting. Now, I was present shortly after the shooting at the hospital because when I received the call, it was approximately around 11:30 the evening after General Khan had left my offices. We weren't entirely sure that there was in fact a shooting, so I responded to the scene. By the time that I arrived there, General Khan had already been evacuated to Mill Park Hospital. I then made my way there. Now, there was lots of things happening. There were lots of people around, but at the very least, we knew that General Khan was in safe care because he was in a restricted ward. I believe it's the emergency ward. And people are not usually permitted access to come and see the patient except in certain limited circumstances. When I arrived the next morning, that was purely out of concern to come and see the condition of General Khan so that we can anticipate what is going to occur when we come and appear at the Commission today. En route to the hospital, I received several calls, firstly from family members, secondly from hospital management staff, and thirdly from people that I had asked to go and be present because I couldn't make it early enough for lack of sleep. And there was, call it a unified response from all three parties that I had interacted with, that there were many persons claiming to be members of the South African police, some who claimed that they were authorized by the Madlanga Commission to come and determine what General's medical condition was. Our impression from that was that there was an acceptance or perhaps a view that General wasn't in fact shot, and all of this was simply a red herring created or crafted in order to avoid having to testify at the Commission today. There were persons of the police who claimed to be from the PKTT as well. Another faction of police came from DPC. I believe that's the Provincial Commissioner's Office. And there were also policemen from the Norwood police station. Now, we are receiving, or we're confronted with this assault of persons demanding that they have an audience and that they be permitted access to General Khan's condition. So we simply put in a blanket policy to say, let hospital management intervene in order to stop all of this, because we need to sort the wheat from the chaff. We need to know who's authorized to be there, who's not authorized to be there, and whether or not they are willing to demonstrate any identity that allows us to confirm or refute that they are in fact SEPS personnel. What I'm trying to say, Chair, is that we were unable to determine who was making which allegation, but I can confirm now that there was a party claiming to be police personnel who attended at the hospital and tried to portray that they entered under cover of this Commission's permission to come and determine General Khan's physical state. I think that may satisfy your question, Chair. If there's anything else, I'm happy to remain on the mic.
And did you tell Advocate Khan that the people who did this were either police or people who presented themselves as police? Did you tell Advocate Khan that?
Well, the message that I had expressed to General Advocate Khan was that we are uncertain who is police and who is not. But one of the parties who claimed to be police said that they are authorized by the Madlanga Commission to be at the hospital, to extract documents, to have access to his medical file, and to physically look at General Khan's physical appearance.
For purposes of the transcript, can you please state your full names for the record?
Thank you. I'm Mohammed Veli. I'm General Khan's attorney of record in this and other proceedings.
Yes, thank you. I must tell you outright that there is no way that I or the Commission would ever send police to go check on anybody who say is in hospital. That just cannot happen. And I would imagine that anybody applying their minds closely and carefully should realize that we would never do that as a Commission. I mean, we have so many functionaries within this Commission, so many.
Yes.
We have how many evidence leaders now? 9, 8, give or take, evidence leaders, some of them quite senior. We have chief investigator who's assisted by 4 or 5 other investigators. We have our commission secretary. We have the commission's spokesperson. I think I've mentioned all the senior functionaries. I hope I have. If we were ever minded to do any such thing, we have never done it before. There's correspondence between the attorneys on the other side, and the commission's attorneys indicate what they want to do, for example, which is what happened with another witness who has medical problems. There's that engagement. And even there are instances of hospitalization. The commission has never just pounced on that witness at hospital. It has never happened. So coming back to you, Mr. Khan, I find it very strange that on something so nebulous, you could have gone out to the media and said, you understand, I think that's the word you use, that there's a directive from the commission for people to go check on General Khan, to check on the various aspects that you itemized in that media interview. How you could do that on something so nebulous, it just escapes me altogether.
Chair, you would recall
Sorry,
earlier
General,
this-
maybe, sorry, Mr. Khan, maybe before you respond, let me add this to this conversation that you made. I think it's important that you clarify it in your response. In fact, in that part of the transcript, you said there has been some contact with the Madlanga Commission. Now, that's not true unless your attorney has been in touch on this topic, because I'm reading at page 8, right at the bottom. You say there has been some contact with the Madlanga Commission, and we understand that they have directed representatives to arrive. A reading of that, in fact, understanding, having followed that interview, it represented that you or your attorney or somebody has spoken to the Commission representatives, and they've understood, and from that, they understand that the Commission intends to send people to go and verify the truthfulness of what was reported in the media. And it is important that you clarify whether there was such a contact with the Commission.
My attorney asks to address this.
Yes, you may.
Yes, Mr. Valley.
Thank you, Chair, Madam Commissioner. Yes, indeed. On the morning, while we were trying to clarify the role of the SEPS members that we found at the hospital when we arrived, Ms. Wilsnach, the Commission's attorney, had contacted me telephonically on my mobile phone, and she had indicated that correspondence would be sent addressing the issue. And I think that's what
that's the correspondence. That's the correspondence Mr. Khan read from.
Correct.
All
That
right.
is indeed.
Please continue.
Thank you. So I can confirm that there was in fact correspondence, or at least a discussion, on the very issue of that morning's occurrences with Ms. Wilsnach and myself.
But the context was totally different. It had nothing to do with a directive by the commission after General Khan had been shot. So to refer to that, yes, to refer to this contact with the Madlanga Commission on something that had happened in the morning, and which had nothing to do whatsoever with the visit to the hospital on the Commission's directive. It just doesn't make sense. Because it's all part of the same sentence.
Yes.
It's all part of the same sentence.
We appreciate that, Mr. Chair, but Mr. Chair must also consider from our perspective, we are confronted with these competing versions of various members of SEPS, in essence assaulting us with their justifications to be there and to be made privy to information which is otherwise confidential. And things happened very quickly thereafter. So to the extent that there may have been an impression or a misrepresentation made, we apologize. We're not trying to impute anything that this commission may have done wrong.
No, you are. You are. You are imputing a directive by this commission that people sent by the commission must go to the hospital with the purpose of establishing all of the things that Mr. Khan said to the interviewer, Mr. Zianda Ngobo of Newsroom Africa. You are imputing something, so please don't even begin to say you are not imputing anything. Please, please.
Chair, I'll leave it at that. I will not.
Thank you.
take it.
Thank you. Khan.
Thank you, Chair, for the opportunity to clarify. You will see from what I say.
Yes, I had asked a question to which there has been no response. I said, how could you have said this based on the nebulous information that has been placed before us now? How could you have said this publicly for all of South Africa to hear based on this very nebulous information? How could you?
Thank you for the opportunity. Chair, you will recall that on the morning, the hospital was full of police from different units, as indicated to you. We are communicating with the family. We are attempting to get information from the doctors. I'm taking instruction from my attorney. And hence I say, we understand that they have been directed, that they have directed representatives. I don't say they have. That is simply the understanding that is conferred upon us. Now, I'm getting this information, members. When I was at reception myself waiting to gain entry and I was refused, there were policemen that arrived at reception wanting entry on behalf of the commission. So when I report this, that we understand that they have been directed by the Madlanga Commission, I'm certainly not saying at that point in time that the Madlanga Commission did this. We're saying we understand, and we're getting this information from people that are arriving there. And Chair, you will recall.
You just articulate this understanding again, because I just felt that it doesn't convey what I'm seeing here. Just articulate your understanding.
So when I say we understand that they directed representatives to arrive at the hospital, I am getting this information from my attorney, from the family who have been there all night, with repeated swathes of policemen getting there, trying to have themselves access the hospital wards. We interacted with the hospital manager in respect of security from the hospital side. And of course, I had my own observations at the reception area.
So once somebody says they come from the Madlanga Commission, you simply accept that and publicize it without any question, without even seeking to establish its authenticity. You just go out there publicly and you say something like this about the commission.
Chair, we understand criticism that is being leveled at us. But these were all qualified as speculative. We are informed, we are told. This is in the first morning.
Yes, there was speculative, I think twice with regard to the first aspect I engaged you on. I do not see speculative here.
But I say we understand.
What difference does that make?
Well, the person applying their mind evenly to this thing will certainly understand that this is not concrete information. It's our understanding that's been conveyed.
You see the meaning you want to convey would apply to this or make sense if this was what you had said. And we understand that there were people who claimed to be representatives of the commission. Because I understand you to be making the point that I've just made. That is not what you said.
I respect
That is definitely not what you said.
I respect and accept your correction of what I intended to say. Certainly, I intended to say exactly what you've said at this
But
moment.
unfortunately, you did not. And
Unfortunately, I did not.
you conveyed something negative about the commission.
In the moment, on live TV, with my attorney next to me, with multiple interviewers, it is unfortunate. And if there is any misapprehension or ambiguity,
let me not accept that there is. Let me just say you stated something wrong about the commission. If you want to say misapprehension, it must come from you. But you stated something wrong about the commission. Yes.
Unreservedly, I apologize to the commission. I see that it is open to multiple interpretations, and I apologize unreservedly.
Thank you. Ms. Hassim, it was indicated to me whilst I was looking that way that you wanted to say something. Please.
Chair, in fact, at the point at which I was going to intervene, I was going to say that I don't need to be as restrained as the commissioners perhaps need to be in addressing this issue that the chair has raised. But then you went on. There are a couple of things that I must put on record from the perspective of the evidence leaders. This communication in the public with the media is of great concern to us because it does bring the work of the Commission into disrepute. There can be no doubt about the impression that's created by these kind of remarks. Now, on this last point, I mean, on the first point, which is that the leak, the point of the leak, the answer, the prudent response would have been, I will not speculate, full stop.
I said I was going to come to the timing. I forgot, but let me leave it now. I think we've debated it, and Mr. Khan has tendered an unreserved apology, I think, in respect of both issues that I raised with you.
I confirm that.
Thank you. Please continue, Ms. Hassim.
Thank you, Chair. All I'm saying is that the answer, the appropriate answer would have been, I will not speculate, full stop. Nothing further. But instead, the comment went on to suggest a link between the filing of papers on the Commission and the terrible incident that followed. Or, in fact, it didn't follow, according to the timeline. And this is important. Why don't we know? Because there's been no formal communication by General Khan's legal representatives with this Commission until we specifically requested it. So on the 29th of June, the letter that my learned friend referred to says the following. It says, we note with concern, and it was sent in the morning, we note with concern the media reports that your client, Major General Khan, was shot last night. We are relieved to understand from those reports that Major General Khan survived the attack and is receiving medical care. We wish him a full and speedy recovery. That's the first thing. The second thing is, what we're trying to say is we're hearing this from the news. We're hearing this from media, from social media. It's not factual information on which we're entitled to simply rely without more, especially since we are engaged and have been engaged with General Khan's legal representatives for some time.
Actually, to add to that, as I said earlier, I don't have the page numbers. Mr. Khan says, I will not go to the question, but he says, we await an indication from the Madlanga Commission as to the way forward. So they themselves were choosing to remain supine, just folding their hands and doing nothing. That adds to the point that you are
Precisely,
making.
Chair. That was a point I was going to make, and I'll point to the part of the record that the Chair is referring to, because we cannot rely on media reports in order to understand how we are to move forward on something as as serious as this. So this is the reason for this communication. One, to express our concern, and two, to get a response on the record what exactly is happening. And so the letter went on to say that in the light of your client's scheduled appearance, this was 2 days before General Khan was due to appear. So the letter says, in light of his scheduled appearance, we request that you urgently inform the Commission of the facts. That's what's in the letter. Concerning the incident, the nature of the extent of his injuries, expected period of recovery. It went on to say, please provide a medical report from General Khan's attending physician to address these issues. Not because we doubt anything, but because the appropriate course of action by the legal representatives is to put the Commission in the know. That's why. And we said so. The final paragraph is just, in the letter says, this information is required so that the chair may consider the position and issue such directions as may be appropriate regarding General Khan's scheduled appearance. That was the reason for the request. So the legal representatives were in possession of this letter before my learned friend addressed the media. So that's the first thing. The second thing is, as Mr. Valley has now said, Ms. Vilsnak had contacted him on the morning of the event to alert him to this correspondence. So he had the contact number of Ms. Vilsnak, the attorney for the Commission. Why did he not pick up the phone and seek to verify the claims of the people who were purporting to be representatives of the Madlanga Commission, who were there trying to get access to General Khan? That would have been the appropriate course of action. They didn't do that. Now, which leads me to say that the responses that we are now receiving to the questions that are posed by the chair regarding the content of this media briefing is a convenient, sort of after the fact, opportunistic response to the questions, because now, being faced with it, there's a gloss that's being applied to these answers, because none of this would have happened if what I'm saying had taken place, which is contact the Commission directly. You had the contact number, and you didn't do so. So the last part of the communications in the media briefing is what the chair refers to, and that's so I'll give the chair the reference. Yes, it is on page 10. And it's just above line 10. It's line 7, where my learned friend says, well, of course, he was due to appear on Wednesday. We await an indication from the Madlanga Commission as to the way forward. So on what basis was the Madlanga Commission going to be able to provide a way forward? Because there had been no formal communication between the legal representatives and the Commission's representatives. So I just wanted to make that clear, Chair. And certainly from the side of the evidence leaders and the legal team, there were no such instructions regarding any visits or any sort of directives to check on the physical condition of General Khan. One last point I wish to make in regard to this media statement. It is concerning the delivery of the information, disclosure of evidence on the weekend. And it was repeated.
If you are raising that in relation to the in-camera application, that application is withdrawn, or unless you... Sorry.
Sorry, Chair. It's not just about the in-camera application,
okay.
because if it was raised in relation only to the in-camera application,
yes.
well, actually, I didn't even address it because I haven't responded to my but it's withdrawn.
Yes.
But this was made in the public. This was a media statement that seeks to convey an impression that there is unfair practices that are taking place in the Commission by the legal team, by the evidence leaders whatsoever in relation to General Khan. And that is incorrect, and it can't be allowed to stand. It is true that there was a volume of material that was provided to General Khan on the weekend. That information was the same information. First of all, it was information that it included information that had been provided to General Khan at the time of the answering affidavit in the urgent application, which was around the end of the first week of June. One set of chats, which was the chat between General Khan and Mo Sayed. And then it included all of the information that had been provided on 15th June, what my learned friend complained about, these spreadsheets, the WhatsApp communications, these lengthy lines of communications in the spreadsheets. That was provided to my learned friend on the 15th of June. What was provided on the weekend was a more usable format of exactly the same information, an easier to read format of the information, and in fact, a truncated version of that information, because by then we had curtailed exactly what it is we wish to refer to when we were going to be questioning General Khan. So it was a subset of information that had been provided on the 15th of June. What was new was the financial information, and what was included there were financial disclosure forms that General Khan had provided to his employer over a period of several years, which we wished to question General Khan on, because when you look at that, together with his finances and his financial position, the two do not tally. So in order to alert the legal representatives that we would be doing that, we provided the financial disclosures and then the bank information, and there was a summarized version of the the bank account information. It was in a spreadsheet which said in globular terms, these are the companies in which you have a shareholding or in which you are director. This is the inflow and outflow of the finances in these companies, summarized in the spreadsheet. Of course, we provided the underlying documentation, the underlying data, so that if the legal representatives wanted to look at any particular line item and check the workings in the spreadsheet, they may do so. That's what it was. So the suggestion that they could not have provided a statement, and Chair, this is also an important point. We never received...
Before you move on to that point, just to confirm, at page 8, Mr. Khan said, so of recent days, we have had the Madlanga Commission on Friday deliver some 37,000 lines of WhatsApp material. And then he goes on to say, and yesterday, as late as yesterday, they delivered some 8,000 pages of further documentation. Is this correct or not, from what you're saying now?
I'm not sure what I think the 37,000 lines of WhatsApp material is what was provided on 15th of June. What was provided on the weekend was it wasn't lines of WhatsApp communication. It was the actual depiction of those WhatsApp chats as the commissioners are familiar with when we take witnesses through. So it looks like what you see on your phone. That's what was provided.
Do you provide 8,000 pages as at yesterday of the incident? Of this
the 8,000 pages would have included the WhatsApp communications, which ran to over 6,000 pages. That's true. But as I said, that body of evidence was a subset of what had already been provided. It's not new material, and in fact, it was in a more, as I say, usable format for General Khan's purposes. So it's not true that there was new information.
Thank you.
Just a minute, Ms. Hassim. Yes, Ms. Hassim.
So, Chair, I mean, all of this was meant to you know, I presume, no, there's one more point in the media briefing that's important. And that is at page, it starts at the bottom of page 2. And it's around line 22. And this is where my learned friend says the following. He has been, and that's General Khan, actively participating and preparing himself to testify and fully cooperate with the Madlanga Commission. And he intended this Wednesday to fully lay bare involvement of senior members of the South African Police Services in certain offences and criminality, as well as speaking to criminal syndicates and what appears to be interference designed to destabilize certain portions of our community. Now, Chair, we never received a statement that addresses any of these issues. Those issues, I presume, would have not been dependent on the information that we provided General Khan. This is what he says he intended to lay bare. And that statement could have been provided to the Commission at any time. In fact, it could have been provided to the Commission before a Regulation 10.6 notice was issued to General Khan. These particular topics, we have not ever received a statement from the Commission setting this out. So that was never in the Commission's possession at any time, let alone at the time that the in-camera application was made.
Is it not possible that a point might be made that his submissions could not have been expected to be piecemeal, and that he would have wanted to make one submission addressing everything?
I would want to hear that submission in full in order to respond to it, because even if that is so, there's no reason for why, and we can go through the 10.6 notice, I don't propose to do so. The information that was requested in the 10.6 notice was information that General Khan could have answered. It wasn't dependent on information, further information from us. So why I'm pointing out this paragraph is because it seems to suggest that it is this kind of information that General Khan was going to reveal to the Commission that put him at risk. But we never received a statement that sets out what I've just read out from this statement, Chair. So, Chair, those are the submissions I wished to make from the perspective of the evidence leaders on the media statement, because we took objection to the content of the statement.
But also, Ms. Hassim, if he didn't file this, as I recall, the 10.6 notice fixes a date by which a statement must be submitted.
Correct.
So that would have been the case here. And if he didn't file by that day, you couldn't claim that he was cooperating with the Commission.
In fact, he had not complied.
Yes.
And we then granted an extension.
Yes.
And then he did not comply. In fact, the last communication on when the statement was going to be delivered was along the lines of, we can't comply with your deadline. We will file it when we are ready, and it will be sometime. It will be before the 1st of July. And in fact, it never came.
Thank you.
Ms. Hassim, oh, by the way. Yeah. Ms. Hassim, I'm quite mindful of the fact that the application for an in-camera hearing has been withdrawn. But on the issue of how we are going to proceed, is it fine if we just await the outcome of the engagements in terms of paragraph 23.4 of the answering affidavit? Or let me just ask the broad question, how are we going to, or is that something that, yes, let me hear you.
Before the Commission,
yes.
That we've advised we wish to traverse.
Yes.
It concerns topics that were raised in the answering affidavit, but not only the evidence that was attached to the answering affidavit,
yes.
because the topics, for example, the improper use of one's position to benefit an enterprise that has criminal allegations attached to this enterprise. There's a range of evidence that's relevant to that topic. So the evidence would be what we deem to be material that can't ever be subject to some form of confidentiality because it concerns tenders and the like. The second is, so I've covered the two. It's what's in the answering affidavit, additional evidence that's relevant, and third, evidence in relation to General Khan's, the financial position, wealth and lifestyle. Those are the issues we wish to put before the Commission, and given that the application has been withdrawn, we see no reason why we shouldn't proceed along that basis. What we can engage my learned friends on is additional evidence that that General Khan has said he wants to put before the Commission and that he has concerned about. Now, what my learned friend didn't talk about was paragraphs 27 to 46 of their founding affidavit. So I presume that that is the evidence that is of concern in those paragraphs. And we can engage my learned friends on that and how we deal with it and when we deal with it. So that is separate from what we will be wanting to proceed with on Friday.
Ms. Hassim, I thought it was not so much the content, but the procedure. How do you intend to proceed on Friday in the absence of General Khan? So if you can just address that.
Sure.
Yeah.
Thank you,
not so
Commissioner
much
Kumar.
the content
So
of...
it's not without precedent. We would follow the same kind of approach that was followed when a previous witness, Mr. Van Wyk, was unable to be present. And the evidence is led. And that does not mean that the witness, in this case General Khan, wouldn't have an opportunity to respond. In due course, he would have an opportunity to respond.
So in summary, the evidence leaders intend to present that evidence to the Commission, and if General Khan at any point should come back, he can respond to that.
That is correct.
Those
are my submissions. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Ms. Hassim. Mr. Khan, you may respond, but of course, I proceed from the premise that I do not expect you to again traverse the ground that we traversed, which led to an unreserved apology with regard to two aspects that you and I debated.
Yeah, ambiguity that has been raised here. My attorney would like to, however, say something in respect of Ms. Hassim's address regarding the documentation, if he may.
As you know, the practice where there's a leader, either the attorney or the junior will whisper to the leader, and then the leader will present.
Yes, I'm not wanting to speak on behalf of him in respect of matters particularly within his knowledge when he is present.
Okay, in the interest of time, we'll do that, but I hope it's not something that will recur. Yes, Mr. Valley.
Not at all. Thank you, Chairperson, for the opportunity. I just want to mention two things, Chair. Ms. Vilsnach had contacted me, and the telephone call was opportune because that was in the morning. It was, I think, after 10 o'clock, and I can check for accuracy if Chair requires me to do so. But at the time, we were still engaging with the hospital manager in our office with SEPS members in order to bring clarity to the question of who's authorized to be there and what they're authorized to receive, and also balancing what the hospital's processes and policies were. Ms. Vilsnach wasn't the only person who contacted me. I'm just checking on my email. Mr. Kerwin Pokpas of DI Attorneys also contacted me. And we had spoken briefly about how we saw the matter to proceed and how they intended to see the matter to proceed. And there was a suggestion that we convene a meeting with the evidence leaders who I understood was not available for the duration of that day. So it's not as if we simply sat back on our haunches and did nothing. We had engaged with Mr. Pokpas the evening with their proposals on a redaction. So Mr. Pokpas, if I can summarize the position that he had given to me was, we see your application for in-camera proceedings. However, our view and the evidence leader's view is that there's no application to hold the in-camera proceedings in camera. So we're not sure what you intend to address in the in-camera proceedings because, and please, Mr. Chair, I don't intend to address on the merits of the in-camera that's now disposed, but simply to give you context and insight into the conversation. It was, we don't believe you've given sufficient facts, and we say if we give too much facts, then we defeat the application itself. So let's talk about the redaction. That's what came later that evening was the proposals on redaction. The next morning I was able to respond to that proposal where I invited their insight or their recommendations on how they intended to proceed. So it places that statement that Ms. Hassam drew attention to earlier with the media, but the engagement with Mr. Pokpas occurred subsequent, and therefore we could only come back the next morning. I just wanted to clarify the point that we were engaging not only with Ms. Vilsnach, but with somebody else as well. And then the second point, Mr. Chair, is that there were 3 disclosures, in fact. The initial disclosure, which occurred on the 15th of last month, involved the provision of Excel spreadsheets together with media files. Now, it's very difficult for us to determine the exact number of media files, but we estimated it to be between the order of 1,500 and 2,000 individual images or videos. So one can't really give an accurate picture there. We were left with an Excel spreadsheet, in fact 2 Excel spreadsheets, which in total came to 370,000 odd individual line items. When we say individual line item, came a few days later, and I believe it was on the Thursday evening before the weekend's incident. That Thursday evening we received a USB stick and a link to a Dropbox folder. And that had a number of the WhatsApp chats, which later then carried over to the final disclosed bundle. But not only that, it contained file metadata and a host of other documents, which appeared to be forensic documents giving an indication of accuracy or authenticity, which we couldn't really go into. We were interested in the chats. That came to a number of pages, which we didn't calculate at the time. We were simply trying to put it into a better format. Before we could complete that, Chair, that's when the 3rd disclosure came, which was on Saturday afternoon, and a second email on Saturday evening, this past weekend. And we tallied up the pages. That was 11,373 pages had we printed those documents as they stood in 3 files. File 1 was what Ms. Hassam, that formed part of File 2, together with transcripts, which we hadn't seen as part of a disclosure, together with some other information, and the financial information, which, and I accept that there was a summary, or what appeared to be a summary in Excel format, and the source documents as well. All of that came to what we predict or what we estimate to be about 5,000 additional pages. Now, it's not that we can simply take it at face value, because the Excel spreadsheets were the source documents on which the summaries were based. And when we consulted General Khan, our client, on Sunday, he said the figures can't be right, so we needed to interrogate them. So it's not as if this was information that we should readily have at our fingertips. We needed to firstly read it, understand it, engage with our client, be directed to the right person to give us definitive answers, and all of that takes time. So just to place it in that context here, I think you would then perceive the difficulties that we were trying to describe from that position. And in relation to the media statement regarding the information of what General Khan intended to address to this commission today, what my learned friend Mr. Khan had said in his affidavit regarding the headings, there's information regarding these rubrics that we had given, perhaps not in the detail that the evidence leaders expected or required of us, but it certainly was mentioned. And I don't want to mention it here because then I'm going to defeat the very purpose of their application. It was mentioned. It doesn't come out of nowhere, and that's the point that I tried to make to Chair. I'll leave my submissions there unless Chair has any further questions for me.
No, it's not to you, Mr. Valley. I'm just wanting to confirm whether I had understood Mr. Khan earlier on the last submissions of Ms. Hassim, and specifically how she proposes to proceed on Friday. I thought you had earlier said you would want to address that on Friday morning. Did I mishear? And if I heard you properly, is that still your position? Just so that there's no confusion about where we land.
We are uncertain at this time because we intend engaging on a number of issues. Of course, if we are unable to reach agreement, consensus on those issues, then we would look to you for directions on Friday.
Back to us earlier than 9:30. We don't want to find out for the first time at 9:30 that there's another interlocutory application.
Absolutely.
Ms. Hassim, it looks like we are done, or is there anything else you think needs to be raised? I'm not affording you an opportunity to respond.
I don't need to respond to that.
Yes.
Chair, there was just one thing which I think my learned friend said was an offer to provide the J88 form in response to our letter of the 29th.
Yes, there was that.
So
yes.
if that could be made available. And then
Yes. May we leave it to the attorneys to interact on that, and I'm sure it will definitely be availed. Mr. Khan having made the point earlier today. Yeah.
Yes, Chair. Thanks.
Yes.
So that's the only point, really. And then we can adjourn. There is another hearing in Canberra to take place.
Yes. A ruling was made yesterday that we would hear the evidence of witness L in camera, so we'll basically adjourn for the day, and we will resume at 9:30 tomorrow morning in open session. Let's adjourn.
Thank you, Chair.